After missing deadline illegally, DOJ says it may need a few more weeks to finish releasing Epstein files. They have suddenly discovered more than 1 million additional potentially relevant documents. So I guess they're just going to be releasing Epstein files forever. Forever and ever. Like there will be no end to it, which must be great for the administration. I don't know. My guess here is that a lot of these potentially incriminating files are being invoked because they want to muddy the waters. Like, yeah, they want to take attention off the real stuff. They're just dumping files in there. I don't think it's going to work. Like, so far, everything they've done hasn't worked. You know, like it's pretty difficult to dim the attention this is getting. But I think they're going to try anyway.
We have some breaking news to share with you. The Department of Justice says it has uncovered, and I'm quoting here, 1 million more documents potentially related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. Caitlin Polance is here. Caitlin, with these documents, do we know if they're above and beyond all of the ones that they already have? And if so, what that's going to mean to the release?
Yeah, this is quite a Christmas news drop, Sarah. The Justice Department now revealing that they are still discovering files from Jeffrey Epstein and all of the different parts of the Justice Department that had files related to him in various investigations. In this statement, this was just out about 20 minutes ago, the Justice Department now says the Southern District of New York, so that's their prosecutor's office out of Manhattan, and the FBI have informed the Department of Justice.
Remember, Cash said Epstein trafficked no one, 1 million documents for no one. Cash not only said that Epstein had no co-conspirators and no client list, he also said there were no Epstein files. It turns out, like, the number of files there were could fill a building, you know? All these statements were made under oath, by the way. These are all impeachable. I mean, it's all, like, persecutable. Why would he say that? Because he's stupid, I guess. I don't know, because he's just because they all think they can get away with anything, and so far they've been correct.
Covered over 1 million more documents potentially related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. The impact there, it means that the Department of Justice is going to be processing these before they can all be posted transparently under the law for weeks. Here's a little bit more of the statement. This
is important. They say the Southern District of New York found these files. They're independent from the DOJ. Well, the DOJ has to release them. Are you saying that these files were procured from a different source, and therefore it's possible that the DOJ is just angrily being forced to comply with the release of these files? Uncovered over 1 million more documents, but from where? In March, Attorney General Pam Bondi told Fox News that a truckload of evidence had been delivered to her after she ordered the Justice Department to deliver the full and complete Epstein files to my office. The directive she made after learning from an unidentified source, the FBI in New York, was in possession of thousands of pages of documents. Unsigned memo, exhaustive review, determined no additional evidence should be released. Where are these files coming from? Who procured them? Manhattan federal prosecutors already had more than 3.6 million records from sex trafficking investigations into Epstein, his longtime confidant, Ghislaine Maxwell, though many copies were copies of material already turned over to the FBI. Vast volume of materials. It's not really saying here, or at least it's not saying clearly. Because if these files were procured from the federal government, I think it's reasonable to assume that there's some degree of shenaniganry here, you know? However, if they were procured from a lower court, or a state court, definitely, especially from New York, then I think we can assume the files are real and would make Trump and Epstein look really, really bad. Listen to the newscast again, the beginning. Sorry, my ears are full of mistletoe. I might have missed something.
We have some breaking news to share with you. The Department of Justice says it has uncovered, and I'm quoting here, 1 million more documents potentially related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. Caitlin Polance is here. Caitlin, with these documents, do we know if they're above and beyond all of the ones that they already have? And if so, what that's going to mean to the release?
provide
Yeah,
info.
this is quite a Christmas news drop, Sarah. The Justice Department now revealing that they are still discovering files from Jeffrey Epstein and all of the different parts of the Justice Department that had files related to him in various investigations. In this statement, this was just out about 20 minutes ago, the Justice Department now says the Southern District of New York, so that's their prosecutor's office out of Manhattan, and the FBI have informed the Department of Justice they've uncovered over 1 million more documents potentially related to the Jeffrey Epstein case.
Prosecutor's office out of Manhattan.
Informed the Department of Justice about 20 minutes ago. The Justice Department now says the Southern District of New York, so that's their prosecutor's office out of Manhattan, and the FBI have informed the Department of Justice they've uncovered over 1 million more documents potentially related to the Jeffrey Epstein case.
That's interesting. Huh. I wonder if it really is authentic then, or I wonder if this is being done in good faith. Because I still, look, this is conspiracy posting from me, but I think it's more likely than not, you know, Occam's razor shit, or Occam's razor. I think that the reason why we had that kerfuffle previously with the Epstein files leaking early because they were already archived online, just without a publicly listed URL, and the fact that you could uncensor them by copy and pasting them, like the black highlighter just needed to be circumvented. I think the reason that happened was because there are people in the DOJ and FBI who hate Trump and want to do a bad job censoring these files. Like, I do not believe that anyone who works at the FBI or the DOJ does not know how to censor a file. I just don't, I don't believe that. I do not think that any of these people would be put in front of a computer and would use black highlighter in a fucking, in Adobe Acrobat or whatever, you know, and they would be like, yeah, that works, that's fine. I think it's malicious compliance. I think they deliberately fucked it up. So, so you're saying the deep state is fighting back? I mean, I would argue that the deep state has changed positions, okay? What was once the deep state is now the high up state, and all the corruption is so out in the open, you can't even call it the deep state anymore. Like, oh, did you know that Israel colludes with the FBI and the government and Mossad to do shady shit? Yeah, we know, they tweet about it. Did you know that Trump is handing out pardons to anyone who offers the money? Yeah, I know, he tweeted about it. Okay, did you know the Pentagon just awarded a $500 million contract to Eric Trump? Like, just flatly giving nearly $1 billion to the president's son? Yeah, I know, it's public info. Like, what deep state? It's all very obvious, frankly. Apartment complex, I find it quite simple. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, you know, maybe now we don't have a deep state. We have the deep, like, bureaucrats who are just tired of this shit. And we have the very openly corrupt state, you know? Either or, one and about. Anyway, if that is the case, though, it would not surprise me if the FBI and the New York prosecutor's office is to some extent, because the prosecutor themselves may be a Trump stooge in the District of New York, but that doesn't mean everyone working in their offices. It's kind of easy to imagine, right? Like, imagine that the DA's office in New York, the federal DA, they're sitting on like 1 million files in Epstein, and a bunch of the clerks and like orderlies and people who work there are like, we fucking hate this president. Hey, all these files, we have all these files. And they go up to their boss and they're like, look at all these files. We have these files. We have to turn over these files. And they're like, no, shh, we don't want to look at those. But they make enough of a fuss about it that it kind of has to be like forced up, basically. These people were probably the ones forced to look at the CP. It has got to be like really bad for your mental health to be an agent of the FBI whose job was to trudge through the insane amount of like child sexual abuse material and whatever the fuck else you had to review relating to Epstein, and then it all gets ignored. All of it gets buried because the president is one of the co-conspirators. Like, that's got to piss you off, right? It wouldn't surprise me at all if there are lots of people at the FBI and the prosecutor's office who are who want to see this blown open, you know? That specific job has a very high suicide rate, like the feds who look through child sexual abuse material. Yeah. Like, no, it really fucks you up mentally for reasons that are probably pretty obvious. But yeah, high suicide rate, mental health problems, like they're big thing. So imagine doing all of that with regard to Jeffrey fucking Epstein, the most notorious child sex trafficker in American history, and then all of it gets shelved. all of it's like, nope, sorry, we can't. Donald Trump's the president. Can't do it. Sorry. I'd be pretty mad. Be a little peeved.
The impact there, it means that the Department of Justice is going to be processing these before they can all be posted transparently under the law for weeks. Here's a little bit more of the statement. We have lawyers working around the clock to review and make the legally required redactions to protect victims, and we will release the documents as soon as possible. Due to the mass volume of material, this process may take a few more weeks. This comes on the heels as well of yesterday. Prosecutors in the Southern District of Florida
doubling down to like super duper 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 redact everything after the fiasco the other day.
So in and around Miami, being asked to volunteer their time and jump on board the group that is already looking at these Epstein files. This email from leadership in the department said they needed volunteers. It was an emergency. They understood it was the holidays, but there are more documents than they have enough people to reviewing right now. They need more hands on deck. Sarah?
This is going to fuel all sorts of questions about how the DOJ has handled this, both the left and the right, both going after the DOJ. How does this all fit in with the law that has been put in place that the president signed, the Transparency Act as well? It requires that they had put these out way earlier altogether, and now here we are.
The requirement was that they would all have been released last Friday. That was the day for all of the files to become transparent that was mandated for the Justice Department. They did not meet that deadline.
And of course, as is always the case, they're not going to be prosecuted for the crime they objectively committed.
And there's another deadline upcoming, January 3rd. That is the day when the Department of Justice is going to have to tell Congress, here's everything we did to redact in these files and the reasons for those redactions. If they're not even through all of the documents by then, they're digging a hole that already is reaching a lot of people and getting a lot of public and political criticism for it. There are members of Congress calling for contempt for the Attorney General for not meeting the deadline, and others who want to go to court. It is not over. There are more files, and there will also be much more reaction as well. Sarah?
Yeah, and we could have some of the files, not the million they haven't gone through, but some of the files that they have gone through.
That's also partly Dem's fault. They didn't put any actual punishments in the bill. All they can do is contempt. Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate. That being said, I didn't expect anything legal to come out of this anyway. I just expected all this to be a big PR hit, which, you know, so far it has been. There's no way the Trump administration's getting their fucking momentum back. I hope they're able to go after Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. I would hate to see Trump, like, allowed to skate by on this, but it would be pretty fun to see them give a couple of sacrificial lambs over to the, you know, to the dogs. How has this affected poll numbers? I'm actually not aware of any polling, any, like, robust polling that is post this Epstein file batch. Though keep in mind, it like keeps happening over and over, right? Like there was the first wave and then the second, the third, and so on. And yeah, it is Christmas time right now. So we're probably going to have to wait a little while. It's only going to go down, guys. It's only going to go down. Congress also went on vacay early. Do you think Mike Johnson saw this dump coming? Well, yeah, of course he did. The date that the files were being released was written into the law. So yeah, that is why he did it. That's why he ended Congress one day early, so there was no overlap with the files release. He's probably hoping that, much like his previous strategy with the files, he's hoping everything will blow over by the time session begins again, you know? I don't think it will. Now, pardon me for being a little bit optimistic, but I really, truly do not think that they will. That Epstein letter, man. Trump shares our love of young nubile girl, like insane. Like from last week, they're now -4 with white voters. Yeah, this isn't even accounting for the release of the Epstein files or everything that's happened since. But yeah, President Trump approval crosstabs -23 overall, minus 90 for Democrats. Fascinating, the 3% of Democrats who approve, but what are you going to do? Plus 81 with Republicans. Obviously, they're a cult, you know. Minus 43 with independents. Minus 43 with 18 to 34. Minus 23 with 35 to 54. Minus 10 with 55 plus. Minus 18 with no college. Minus 22 with college graduate. Minus 11 with men. Minus 34 with women. Minus 6 with white people. That's pretty crazy. That's crazy. Even white people. White people redemption arc? Finally! The only demographic that doesn't hate Trump is the group of people that were asked beforehand if they hate Trump. No, I don't hate Trump. Okay, do you hate Trump? No? Okay. Finally, somebody likes him. Minus 6 with white people. Well, a million more Epstein files, guys. We're going to be swimming in, news drops about how our president is a pedophile every day for the rest of our lives. Trump is going to be dead soon. He's old, right? And we're gonna all be in our 50s and 60s and 70s, whatever. We're gonna be older, and every day it's gonna be like, hey, the DOJ for the 6th administration after Trump, we're still digging through those files.